Utilitarianism.
Yep, here we go. Back at it again. Just some more research on it. And yeah, I'm going to write what it says about the doctrine. Okay, the noun, the doctrine. I'm going to read it. The doctrine that actions are right if they are useful or for the benefit of a majority. The doctrine that an action is right insofar as it promotes happiness or the greatest number should be the guiding principle of conduct. Yes, this is one of my part twos, a series. I'm just gonna put this little mini series, but the rest I'm gonna do more extension on it on the Black Pill later. I mentioned this in my previous two videos, and yeah, I did one about the criticisms of it, of the pros and cons. And then here's what it's based off of theory, principles, and goals. And I want to read this. Utilitarianism is an ethical theory that determines right from wrong by focus on outcomes. It is a form of consequentialism. Utilitarianism holds that the most ethical choice is the one that will produce the greatest good for the greatest number. This would arguably produce the greatest good for the greatest number. And Utilitarianism and Ethics Unwrapped, the University of Texas by the guy that I just mentioned from my first video, making a comeback, and I did a response on that. Let's see, right here. The basic principle of Mill's utilitarianism is the greatest happiness principle. An action is right insofar as it maximizes general utility, which Mill identifies with happiness. Indeed, Betham seems to have adopted the principle greatest good for the greatest number. So that's by philosophy. It's a esoteric philosophy they use, but it's a theory, but it's a concept. This concept is nothing new, but they call it what they will call it utilitarianism. And they said the principles of utilitarianism, you could search for it. Just a little hints. And then here's the goals. Is a theory of morality which advocates action that fosters happiness or pleasure and opposes action that causes unhappiness or harm. When direct toward making a social, economic, or political decisions, a utilitarian philosophy would aim for the betterment of society as a whole. And they written this last year, November 23rd of 20th. Yep. I think I was into that little cyclopedia. Yep. And here's the arguments. Yeah, by three philosophers I've mentioned in those three videos. I don't want to read this. The arguments. Utilitarians believe that the purpose of morality is to make life better by increasing the amount of good things such as pleasure and happiness in the world and decrease the amount of bad things such as pain and unhappiness. Yep. The act and the rule of utilitarianism. And I got one with the average and the rule utilitarianism. There's three terms. It's total, rule, and average. I got it on my notes here, and it confirms what everything it says in utilitarianism. So you got the encyclopedia, act and rule, one of the best known, influential, and moral theories. That it's like a theory, but it's a concept, but it's an extreme side though. Utilitarianism is just basically, they give you the table of contents and all this. You can read that. I'm not going to go into that. It's a mouthful of reading. That's basically what you got in utilitarianism. And they had this over here. I'm going to give you an example. When individuals are deciding what to do for themselves alone, they consider only their own utility. For example, if you are choosing ice cream for yourself, utilitarian view is that you should choose the flavor that will give you the most pleasure. Yep. That's a small example of it. Two types of utilitarianism. You got two types. You got two types of utilitarianism. You got the rule utilitarians and act utilitarians, and both strive to maximize utility of actions for the good of humankind, but they only differ in the way they approach their task. Rule utilitarians believe that a set of rules or morals and codes should be used to standardize behaviors. And I think y'all know what ACT is, but this is a summary of it, of the previous videos, and I'll make some in the summer. I'm gonna do more research on it on the Black Pill perspective. But that's what basically utilitarianism is on the two types I mentioned. And I'm going to go with the list of cons. I already mentioned the pros of it on my recent video, the 13 advantages and disadvantages of utilitarianism. I mentioned that, and I'm going to read the cons again. We do not consider any element besides happiness. It creates an unrealistic perspective for society, but utilitarianism can be unpredictable. I mentioned that before in the recent video, and it also relies on people making constant decisions. Utilitarian relies on multiple definitions of happiness. Yep, this is the video of
utilitarianism.
Yep, and that's all I gotta say, folks. May y'all bless in the name of Melchizedek. Shalom.